The fallen giants are back on their feet.
Hi, welcome to the 1 to 11 Kits YouTube page. This is our first ever video. I'd like to welcome the AFC Geek. John, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. Good, nice Sunday evening. Nice bit of about football shirts. How are you?
I'm really good, mate, and it's brilliant to have you on. If you aren't already, if you could please like and subscribe to the video, that would be amazing and would mean the world to all of us. So the first episode that we've got on today is around the Muller-Asics combination, 1993 to 1995. What are your initial memories and thoughts of this era?
The first thing that comes to light always, or comes to memory, is the cup final, winning the cup final. And I remember vividly the semi-final, the Tranmere, the losing 3-1 away and thinking, that's it, that's game over. And then 3-1 in the home leg, and then Bosnich just saving penalty after penalty in the home leg. And just the euphoria. I had one, it was an old radio station released a cassette of the an audio cassette of the games, like the whole 90 minutes, and I had that. So you could listen back to the whole 90 minutes of both games and the penalty shootouts and things. So I had that at the time. And I just remember the cup final. I remember the big thing, I think, was looking at the lineups and seeing that Schmeichel wasn't in goal and it was Les Sealey. And that all sort of, you thought, well, maybe you have a chance. Schmeichel's not there. You got Sealey in, who was nowhere near the keeper.
No one remembers him. People only remember Schmeichel. I know they beat us at home that season already, 2-1. Lee Sharp had a blinder in that game, and yeah, as you said, the rotation, because they were going for the treble at the time. That really did help us, that change in goalkeeper. Well, hopefully today we'll be able to answer two big questions: what made the Asics and Muller combination so special, and what can today's manufacturers learn from these shirts? So the first element I wanted to focus on today with you, John, is just the vast amount of different combinations of this shirt, whether it's the home shirt, the away shirt, or the goalkeepers that you can get. So if we first start off with the sponsors, do you remember what the first version of our sponsorship was?
In terms of, Muller was across the front, but they originally released it without a sponsor, didn't they? They had no sponsor.
Yeah, that's what I was going for. Yeah,
added on. Prior to doing that, you get it added on afterwards, couldn't you? So it started off as a blank template that you could have Muller added on when they got it sorted.
Yeah, we went for a blank template. You then got Asics, which were on the front when we released the actual shirts, and then you've got a version with sort of Nelson Mandela where he's holding one, and it's got a big A and big Asics on the front as well, which is a cool picture to look back on. And then it wasn't until about 10 games into the first season that we actually got Muller, and what a sponsor it was. Where does Muller rank in sponsors that Aston Villa shirts have ever had?
It's just iconic, isn't it? It stands out because the colours really shouldn't work. If you've got a claret home shirt, red should be a colour that shouldn't mix. But I don't know if it's because I look back as a child of my memories of Villa just being exciting, and it was just a kit that I had and really remember having as a kit. The away one I remember having, and the home one. So I don't know if it's just sort of rose tinted glasses looking back. It seems to still be a popular one now, especially that rainbow kit. But the red shouldn't work on the claret. It shouldn't be a colour combination that works, but it just does it. It's just nice. It's just nice. I like it. And it wears. I'll have to say, for shirts that are sort of pretty old, if you look at some of the sponsors for much more recently, it wears and washes like really well.
And it was mad because there's sort of three combinations that you can have, isn't there? There's the sort of sticker pressed on one that you've got, and then you've got the embossed one, which pops out a little bit more, which is your preferable out of the two.
Whereas this one here, this one's the embossed version. It's sort of like 3D and sticks out. The cup winners one that sticks out across the front.
Out of the two, which one do you prefer?
I think I like the 3D. I think I do like the 3D version of it. Yeah. What about you?
I think last but not least, my favourite version, which I didn't get a chance to answer that question, but I think the Muller yogurt, which I've never been able to get hands on myself, but that one for the TV games is just awesome, isn't it? That's a super sponsor. That's massive.
Have you never got your hands on a Muller yogurt?
Never. I've seen them and I've made bids, but at any certain point in time, I've never had the available funds to have it. But I will have one.
We'll get one of these days.
It's destiny.
They were warned to give the extra sort of advert revenue, wasn't it, from Sky?
Yeah. So for the I think it was one about 10 occasions for the TV games. Yeah, and it's just another feature which, as you said, makes this shirt so special. The little differences that there are. So moving on from sponsors, we've also got obviously the ASICS.
Yeah.
ASICS, which was new for 1993. So this combination of ASICS and Muller, they're intertwined because they were only together for 2 seasons and either moved on both at the same time. What do you make of ASICS as a brand, and what shirts do you sort of remember just in general from ASICS?
Well, I remember that at the Premier League, there's a few other clubs sponsored by ASICS. So I remember Newcastle specifically. They and Blackburn, Newcastle and Blackburn were the two that I remember, because purely on the goalkeeper kits, like the templates. Now I look back, I realise were the same, but it's the goalkeeper kits that Newcastle. I remember seeing the Newcastle goalkeeper in the rainbow kit, and I think was it Tim Flowers possibly the Blackburn keeper who would also been in.
I think Leeds had the rainbow one as well. I think Blackburn had more of the is it the bluish or the greenish one with all the small little squares and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, I think actually doing a ton of teams at the time, and we were just one of them. And it is mad to think that our home shirt that we think so fondly of now, or a lot of fans, Aston Villa fans, think so fondly, is a template that you could find on a plethora of other football teams, including sort of like Millwall away, Blackburn, as you said, away, Newcastle away, and other teams. And then the funny one is something that we found out the other day. I wasn't sure. It was new to me the other day, but is on that the European nights, the difference to the ASIC symbol. Hopefully we'll be able to pull a picture up and you guys will be able to see that now. But the little change to the A as well. I need to know which way I'm probably pointing to which booth. But the little change to the ASICs as well, which is a fun little difference again, and adds to the pure number of these shirts. Where does ASICS for you rate in terms of Aston Villa sponsors that have ever been?
So I do like it. I mean, if you try and take your sort of rose-tinted spectacles off and look at sort of the shirts we've had in general, the fit is obviously huge. The fit is big. It's nice because you feel a bit sort of smaller than you actually are, because I always find the fit is very generous, and the sleeves, as 90 shirts were sort of not even the short sleeves are sort of halfway down my arm, and this is not that big a shirt. But again, you look at some of the kits that we've had more recently, like Macron and things, where they fade quite quickly, they fall apart quite quickly. The shirts from the 90s era seem to just last a long time. So ASICS, for me, again, it's just because it's childhood memories. It does stick up as a decent one. It had a nice variety of kits, and a lot, like I said, a lot of the newer sort of updates that I've learned about through yourself a lot of the time, and through being a collector, all the different variants of the Muller yogurt, the different A on the ASICS badge, the embossed and the non-embossed sponsorship, the player versions, just the variety they had. It's so good. Obviously, the material is nowhere near what it would be nowadays. Again, they're not the warmest so they're not the sort of climate cool and stuff that you have now. They're
quite breathable.
But it just worked well, wasn't it? It was a combination that just worked. Because the sort of this style we haven't done a shirt like it really, have we? With the sort of thin pinstripes quite spread out across. We haven't had anything even similar. Now, they tried the green and black last year, but no sort of kit makers been adventurous enough to try anything even similar to this, have they? Because I just think because it's such a high regarded shirt, I think it would be a real sort of difficult one to get right.
I think, maybe it's a testament maybe to the team at Aston Villa as well. Doug Ellis and co, whoever was at the commercial management side at the time. But when you look at the shirts that were before that as well, when you look at the home shirt with the lace collars and the Hummel that's come before that, this was a time where maybe the club was, more allowing to experiment in terms of the traditional, blue sleeves and claret in the middle that we normally see, and there's changes. But yeah, still at the time, we're the only team that I know of that took this template and put it on the actual home shirt, rather than on the away shirt, which just created an amazing design. And just thank God we had Muller as well. Imagine if we'd had someone really terrible and could have destroyed this amazing kit.
ASIC wise now, with your knowledge, who do people still? Is there many still with ASICs? Because I don't seem to see them that often, especially in the higher leagues. I don't really think I've seen them. Do people just not use them anymore?
I think it's more that they've gone on to more different things and probably priced out a little bit. They do a lot of stuff with running and with trainers and those sorts of sports rather than focusing on football. They were in Serie A for a while. But yeah, there's just other brands that are more focused on it. In the 90s were ASIC's heyday and did a massive amount of football clubs, especially among the Premier League, the lower leagues, and Serie A as well. Moving on then, another amazing aspect of these shirts that we should definitely talk about is the lettering. This obviously was the first season, 93 to 94, that players' names were allowed on shirts. What's your thoughts on the branding and again, why, to someone who's maybe doesn't know so much about the shirt, why are these letters and numbers so special?
Well, the players' versions are like the one you're holding up there, that they were stitched in. So that it's completely different sort of to the transitional one. I think it was a lot of there's some really iconic players, because we've had in recent years a lot of forgettable players. Really, I mean, you look at sort of Grealish is obviously breaking that mold, but you've had a lot of forgettable players. But if you ask people to sort of mention 20 Villa players from the past, you're getting names like Bosnich, Dean Saunders, Aguiar, Atkinson, McGrath. Like they just. There was, I think, the lettering in the players stand out because you can just list an absolute huge amount of players that they were just because we were riding away, weren't we? We were good. We'd almost won it in '92 in the first Premier. We came second in the first team.
You'd spend money, getting players like Townsend was a cure at the time because he came to the club. I remember watching an interview of him and he was like, I've come here because I want to walk up Wembley steps. I want to lift trophies and stuff like that. So. Yeah, it was a different time, and that's why there were more bigger names. But yeah,
you see that the player. It is that because it is that sort of era where we had a lot of good players. That McGrath, for example, McGrath. You see quite often people with this shirt with McGrath on the back. It's just an era where we had lots of players. Yeah. It's still. I mean, a lot of the players are still sung about now. I don't know if football is still spoken about now as being some of the. And when you ask like these polls and stuff of who would you get back if you could, and people like Dwight York and Dalian Atkinson, and they just
too many names.
Yeah. But it was the sponsorship, wasn't it? The sort of stitching around where ASICS is all around the number on the player version of those that made it quite different. But again, that was new information to me because they were quite clean. There's nothing sort of stand out if you compare it to like the 96, the Reebok ones that would completely stand out. There's not really like font style or number style that actually is too out there. That it's very clean, very sort of standard. There isn't a huge amount to it.
No, I do like the fact that they're sort of actual cloth. This is hand cut cloth that have had the ASICS heat pressed on, and then it's been hand stitched into the shirt. So it's still very special, but it's not as a flamboyant design like the Reebok away sort of 95, 96 and stuff like that before obviously the Premier League made everyone regimented.
Said what everyone had to do.
Ha! You will wear the same boring template.
But it was just that cleanness, was it? So there wasn't anything flamboyant about it. It was just nice and clean and looks good. I like the ASICS bit across the bottom of it. Rather than, because obviously nowadays it would have been the Premier League symbol, or still is obviously the Premier League symbol. And there the sort of kit manufacturer ASICS got to have their number in it, which was sort of common, wasn't it, at that time? So Umbro, before they had their number, their sort of logo stitched into the pressed onto the number before. Whereas when they switched to Reebok and they were still allowed, the Reebok was on the where you got it printed at the club shop, wasn't it? But the actual players didn't have Reebok into their numbers.
No, they didn't know. They did in the 93s to 95. So before we move on from the home kit, as you mentioned before, we got to lift the trophy in that one, which is amazing. Do you remember the day? How old would you have been?
So I was 10.
Oh yes, you pretty good memory then.
I remember it really well. So my whole family is Villa fans, and we all went to my nan's at the time, and we all collected there. And a friend of mine randomly was a party planner at the time, and she had come round to my house and said, "Look, I've got you loads of Claret and Blue balloons." So we had it at the car driving to sort of family's house, and we all got round, and it was just a great day. There was sort of 12 of us sat in the lounge, crammed around the TV, just watching it happen, and just couldn't believe it. There's a few people I speak to now, like sort of Dan Waddell, that I was growing up with at sort of the same school, and we talked about this was just what we thought happened with Villa, because I grew up with Villa. So you won 90, you won 94, you won 96. I just thought, I'm pretty glad I support Villa. We seem to win a lot, do well. But I remember it well. I remember it being just an amazing day. I remember the sort of, you're travelling to family, sitting and watching it with a sort of good 10, 12 of us, all Villa fans in the Villa shirts. So I would have been in one of these shirts. At the time, I think mine had Saunders on. It was the first name I ever got printed on the back of a shirt was Dean Saunders. On the back of the home one, so I would have been sat there in that kit. Probably knowing me at 10 and 11, to that full kit. I can't actually remember, but knowing me at that point, I would have been full kit. I would have had the shorts, probably the socks, I'm afraid to say, but I would have been in full kit, sitting there watching it. With just
for everyone that's watching this now, he's actually full kit as well. So,
yeah,
he puts the camera there, but he does full kit even still. So do you remember the actual game and scoring first, and obviously in the second half they pulled it back to 2-1?
Yeah, because I would say the thing I remember most is the Kwiatkowski's handball. I remember it being such a big thing because I remember having it being sort of not explained to me, but sort of it was a bit of a melee when it went on. I remember it being 2-1, and right at the end, someone had a shot, and I must have missed the fact that it was a handball. And then all of a sudden there was a sort of stoppage, and then I was sort of asking sort of family what's going on. They're like, no, he's handballed it on the line, and you saw the replay and the other penalty and the red card. So that was the bit I really remember, and the lifting the trophy and the sort of dancing round afterwards, because it was at the year where I was sort of going to where they had Villa soccer schools. In the local area, Villa sort of sponsored. I think they still do. They had sort of soccer schools and school holidays where you'd go and play Villa youth coaches, and then they'd get players in at the end of the week where you go and have go with your autograph book. So I remember the year after we'd won, going in sort of the May holiday after we'd won, and they had the cup there. So you got to lift at the end of the week, so you got to sort of lift and have your picture with the trophy with the Claret and Blue ribbons on it.
Amazing.
It was really nice. Because I mean, guessing you don't remember. Were you even born, or you remember it at all?
I was born, but I was only 3. So I completely. My football memories start at World Cup '98. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Another interesting fact about it is it wasn't the first Coca-Cola Cup we'd won that season. We'd actually won a Coca-Cola Cup. It was called the Coca-Cola Cup in Asia, in Japan, in sort of pre-season friendlies as well. So that was we won 2 that season.
Wow.
3 that decade. 2 came in that season, which is amazing. And I think one of the most important things about that win is obviously that put us in to Europe next season, and then that meant a certain shirt was released. But we'll come on to that in a little bit.
This shirt also has that massive Phil King penalty that I do remember, which was the Inter Milan game. So I remember being allowed to stay up late to watch it, and because it must have been, when we got to penalties, it must have been probably like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I remember staying up for that. I remember staying up for the Phil King, the iconic celebration where he just stands up, arms in the air as he scores that penalty straight down the middle. So this really big memories, I think, to with it. As me growing up as a youngster, it was the first shirt I remember having printed with Saunders. And interestingly, I told Dean Saunders this story when I met him, and he didn't care. But I told him that I met that it was you were the first person I had on my shirt, and he wasn't really that interested.
He was like, everyone had me.
Yeah, like, so what?
Yeah, you and everyone else.
Yeah.
So, what we giving the Asics home shirt out of 10?
It's an interesting one going first, because obviously this is hopefully going to be a bit of a series where we start to rate shirts along the way. So you almost don't want to go too early, but we purposely picked this one because we both sort of in love with the '94 sort of shirt. it has to be up there. I would say a 9. The Asics template has to be up there as a 9. As overall, it's shirts that I always wanted. It's shirts that I wanted to have. Shirts that when I properly started going recollecting, it was shirts that I wanted to make sure I had, and in good quality, and with printing on the back. What about you? Yeah, for me, it just has to be up as a high one.
I'm just writing this down. I'm going for a 9.5 for the Muller home. And then, as you said, when people come to collect and they are looking for this shirt, hopefully some people will come and have a look at this shirt before they go and purchase one. What sort of price range do you think is reasonable for someone to be looking at to go and get this shirt?
I would say in the current market, you're looking at around, I think 50 would be a good price. It seems to be at the moment. I think anywhere in and around £50 mark for the home one. The away seems to go for a bit more. And then obviously, if you wanted printing or not wanted printing on it, change the price slightly. But I think just as a home, I know prices are a bit high at the moment in general. I'm not sure if they'll stay or things will slowly start to decrease. But I would say
the whole video in itself, isn't it? Yeah, I'd say if you can get this for £70 to £75 for the regular version, probably another £10 for the Coca-Cola Cup version, and then maybe like another £5 if it's got patches, and another £10-15 if it's got lettering, then you're around about on track, and you're probably looking at an excellent condition, accurate, run of the mill shirt that isn't fake. What else should people look for if they're looking for a fake of this shirt? Because I know obviously some people have done the Aston Villa official remake version, and they put the Asics on and stuff like that. What would you look for to make sure it's real?
I think the thing that stands out on that is the badge. The badge is a completely different colour. The score draw ones that people have put Asics on, the positioning of both the badge and obviously the Asics is often, well, not often, but sometimes on the fake ones, the Asics is slightly off in terms of its actual positioning compared to the real ones. And the badge colour, it's not. It's the blue for me. When I've seen them, the claret stripes are almost okay, but the blue is really off. The colouring on the badge is what I would look for on them, and then the label, the white Asics label, which is in these, because I would always, if I thought worried about it, I would look to just for a picture of the label, because I haven't seen any fakes with the Asics label in. Like, I mean, some other shirts have the sponsors label in, but I know that the score draw ones definitely don't. But it is the badge, I think, and the pictures of the score draw badges are completely different colourings to me. You can spot them. Well, I spot them quite quickly now in terms of the difference in colour. What about you? What is there anything that I've missed that you look for as the colour difference?
No, I would look for ideally to have one of the sort of the embossed, the 3D printed Muller versions, or the one with no Muller on at all, because obviously no one, there is not a fake in the world that I've ever seen for either of those two, or a remake that have got those two things. So if you can find a Muller that's 3D printed, or you can find one Mullerless, then you can be 99.9% sure that it's okay. But if you're ever unsure, tweet the AFC Geek and tweet 1 to 11 kits, and we'll happily take a look for you. So moving on from the home shirt. Oh, yeah.
Quickly, where do you stay in terms of the sponsor list? Because I know a few people that I talked to on Twitter. They aim for sponsorless shirts on everything. They like the sponsorless shirts, whereas I like having the sponsor as part of the shirt. For me personally, I like it.
It's so iconic with the Muller. I think lifting up the cup and the photos of that Bosnich with the cap on, and it's enshrined within this particular shirt. Whereas for some other shirts like the 1982, I could have it with Davenport's or without. I wouldn't particularly be that bothered. But with the Muller for myself, I'd be looking for to have all three, or all four, or all 20 versions of this particular shirt, because there is so bloody many. But for myself, just the plain Muller version that I'm wearing now is sufficient. This one's been battered. The Muller came off this one. I've got it re-sewn on. It's got holes in it. The button's missing, but I love it. Atkinson's, I think, nearly destroyed on the back, but yeah, it's one of my first shirts that I ever got as an Aston Villa fan. So it's pretty special to me. So let's move on from the home shirt and let's go to the first ever away kit with this particular badge on, and it's the controversial one.
Yeah. which blew my mind when I started speaking to more people about it, because for me, again, I just love the shirt. But when I ask people, I think it's often people who are, because I'm unfortunately getting on a little bit now. It's talking to people who weren't around at that time, and they're like, the colours don't work. They said the colours just don't work. The green, black, and red are not something that they like, and it doesn't work as an away shirt. But again, I think it's if you were there. I think if you were there at the time, I haven't spoken to many people who were around who remember this wearing it that dislike it.
Yeah.
I mean, that one there's a beauty. The player version with the long sleeve is just
sexy.
Neil Lamptey as well. I mean, what are your thoughts? That's for me. I think for people who around and saw it, it's definitely an iconic shirt. But I am speaking to more and more people who don't like it, which does surprise me, really. I
think, there's traditionalists and there's non-traditionalists, and there'll be a spectrum of opinions on this one. Some people say that green, red, and black is not the colour of an Aston Villa away kit. I would say it's the colour of one of the best Aston Villa away kits that we've ever had. That would be my personal opinion. And change has to start somewhere. This one came out, and I love it. I love it. As you said, it shouldn't work, but it does. It's got 3 different designs. I think the fact that it's got Muller and red, and that goes with the small pinstripes in between the thicker lines, is good. It would be very, very interesting if you're watching this and you remember these shirts coming out. Just tell us your initial thoughts comment below with your initial thoughts on what they were like when they came out, and any of your interesting comments that we'll be sure to bring up in future episodes at the start. But yeah, it's a brilliant shirt if you ask me. A remake of this should have come a lot sooner than Kappa. I remember when before the Luke shirts came out, and when I knew that we were going to have an Aston Villa fan making them, it was something I was praying for, either something to do with Hummel and the white and the blue pinstripes, or something to do with this particular shirt. I had to wait a little bit longer. It had to come in the 3rd shirt, but I think the doubters was still there with the 3rd shirt Kappa this season as well. But yeah, this is a magical shirt if you ask me. It's a bold design. It's different, and it's 90s. It's crazy. You'll walk down the street and everyone will know who you support wearing this.
And this is what I mean with the sponsor. So the red of the Muller there works because it picks up the pinstripes of the shirt itself. It's why, in my opinion, it shouldn't work across the home, because it doesn't pick anything up, which is why I really like it on the away, because it does match in with the with the pinstripes that go through it. And it's just, I look at it now, it was just a shirt that it's just, you've got to have it as in your collection. It's just up there with some of my favourite ones. I just love it. I'm pretty biased on the 94 ones. I don't hear a bad word said about it. No. I like the 3rd version of this season. Sorry, last season. Now it is. I suppose we have transitioned now into the
season. I was a fan of that straight away. I messaged Sean Teal on Facebook. I was like, I love that.
I did like. Don't get me wrong. I really liked the green shirt. I don't think it was as good as homage as it could have been when going to the green, black, and red. I like it as a shirt. I as always buy. I was asked this question today on Twitter: do you buy shirts regardless of liking them or not? And I would have bought it regardless, just to fill the collection. Yeah. But I don't think it was as good as a homage as it could have been. Would be what I would say about it, because it wasn't really pinstripes. It used the colours, but I know they can't like for like copy it, but it didn't for me be as much of a homage as it could have been, in my opinion. I liked it, but I don't know.
I disagree with you. I think it had all the elements there in terms of just the colour scheme, brought back nostalgic memories, and the fact it was, I think it was something to do with one of the stained glass windows, wasn't it? Yeah. And that adds a new development, which I think will be, it'll be a strong grower, not a shower, which is me. But yeah, I think it's iconic, and I love the away kit. If anything, I love it more than the home shirt, which is the home. Say that again.
The away one more than the home shirt.
I do love the away one more than the home one. It goes with more stuff. I can wear my black skinny jeans, and it's a lot easier to wear black and find something that goes. This goes with blue jeans, and I'm not really a blue jeansy person. I'm more of a black jeansy person. So That's why I sort of think I go more to the Muller away. So, what are we rating the green and black away kit out of 10, John?
So, I mean, what are we doing? How decimals are we going on this? Are we just going 0.5s all the way up? Are we?
No, you can go 0.2. I think quarters if you want. Yeah.
I would say I would put it at 9.25. I'd say it's just a touch better than the home for me. I think just that little bit better. It's going to be an intense rating.
Yeah. We'll give it an average. So I'm going to go 9.75. No, yeah, 9.75. Slightly better than the home shirt, and it's one of my favourites. So I'm going to have the prerogative, and yeah, that's what I'm going to give the away shirt. So let's move past 93-94. We've won the League Cup. Let's go to the next season, and we go on to an amazing shirt, a mythical beast. It needs no introduction. It's the one game Aston Villa Essex white third shirt.
So it's a shirt that it just hasn't made it into my collection or your collection or pretty much anybody's collection that I know. Well, it's have said no. I know two people with it, but it's just a shirt that wasn't there. I mean, I was at the game, and as a young child, I wasn't really that sort of spotting on kits, so I didn't really notice that it was there. But I remember I only remember the game because I remember going to the name and trying to pronounce Trabzonspor. The only reason why I know I was at the game. So it's probably one of the first ever games I went to. And it was because my dad at the time got through working things, had the odd tickets given to him, and that was one of the ones that I went to. And I remember sort of looking at the ticket name and thinking, I don't even know I'm going to pronounce this. And it was explained to me Trabzonspor. So it was the only sort of real reason I know. But they were in claret and blue, so we decided to make a third shirt. And
yeah, UEFA regulation time is that it's to go into and then a home team would be the one to change if there was a problem. November the 1st, we get to wear the white one. And how, why is this shirt just so rare?
Because I'm guessing they only produced a squad amount, so they only produced one squad kit. So therefore, they never put them in the shop. Well, they never produced them to retail. Because what I found out recently when speaking to somebody who's got these shirts was that at the end of the season, they used to just put the player ones in the shop, and you could just walk in off the street and buy the player ones. And that's how people got hold of the sort of unicorn shirt, as we call it. It's almost a shirt I've given up hope on ever collecting because there's so few of them that exist. I mean, there'll be a picture on screen of it now, but
look at this.
I've seen one in the flesh, and it does look as good as it shows on screen. I've seen one. I was fortunate enough to have a look around Dave Hitchman's collection, and it is nice. It is nice, but
my favourite thing about this is the real proper claret. That's just a lovely feature. Obviously, again, we've got the small A in front of the Essex, which you don't see on the other kits.
Yeah.
And it's such a lovely, nice white as well. And then with all of them, it'll be the proper embroidered badges as well. And yeah, it's just an amazing shirt. UEFA Cup, mythical third beast. If you find one, my number is coming along the bottom of the screen now. Give me a call and let me know, and I'll give you £1 million.
It's just. I think I know of two people who own it, and I haven't even seen one ever pop up on a selling site ever.
No. What are you gonna?
See, from the people I've spoken to about it, obviously I've only seen one in the flesh very briefly. But in terms of design, I think it rates sort of all right. So I'd say put it. I think it's only so exclusive because I haven't got you can't get hold of it. I don't think the design is actually anything amazing. Personally, I think it's sort of a nice design. But from the people I've spoken to who've got it, say it's a nice shirt, but it's nothing amazing. So I'd put it at 7.5 in terms of the design. But because it's so rare, I want it a lot. But I don't think it's anything special design wise. I think it glows up a little bit because it's so rare. What about you?
Yeah, I'm of sort of the similar accord on that one. I like the differences with the Essex and the little A on that. But yeah, it's essentially a white football shirt with a claret collar. There is literally nothing different about this than anyone. It's obviously made on a whim. Didn't know if it was going to be used or not. Feature with some of the shirts that we'll touch on, where when things are made, off the cuff, they're not necessarily on a design point that's spectacular. It's the rarity that makes this shirt special. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. So football, you need someone crazy behind the in between the sticks. What better than to put them in something absolutely crazy as well? So let's touch on the Aston Villa goalkeeper kits from 93 to 95. There's 5 of them, and I think there's no other place to start than the rainbow shirt. What's your thoughts on the rainbow?
I put this, and it's where I really annoy myself personally on it. I think it's probably, and this is probably my favourite ever kit that we've got, which is madness because I had one and gave it away recently, like within the last 10 months. For the only reason is that I can't get into collecting goalkeeper kits as well as player shirt. So I told myself I can't collect keeper shirts because I'd go bankrupt. So I gave it away. I with some caveats on it. It came, like I had some extra bits that came with it.
Yeah,
he knows who's got it, and I think it's my favourite shirt because Bosnich was one of my favourite ever players. I met him at the Villa Soccer School. He was one of the players that came down. He was crazy himself, and he was just a shot. He was just, and I remember him just being just this absolute penalty hero. Just
Tranmere semi-final.
Just being an absolute legend, being it, and I think because it's so odd, and it almost at the time didn't as much sort of class that other teams had it. And I know I sort of was aware of it, but I just saw it as the Villa goalie top, and it's one of my favourite, if not. It's hard to say it's my favourite. It's definitely up there with my top Villa shirts we've ever had. What about you?
Yeah, it's such a unique design. Again, Asics have pulled out of the park with this one. They've given it to a number of teams: Hearts, above the border, Leeds, Newcastle United, and of course Aston Villa. And yeah, it's an iconic shirt. Whichever badge you put it on, and it's always well wanted and well documented as a high value shirt. What do you remember of that sort of the end of Spink now and the start of Bosnich? Was Spink the guy? Do you remember him? Do you remember him playing and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, anecdotally, I used to play football with his son Byron. He used to play, sort of knew about Nigel Spink to that way, and I've met him a fair few times since because he sort of still lives local to where my parents live, and so I've met him on a few times. And he's a really nice player. He's always got a lot of time for people. Even now, only a couple of years ago, I was sort of chatting with him. He was starting a race off in Sutton Park, and I had a chat with him afterwards, and he was just a really nice guy. I remember him being he's definitely the first goalkeeper I remember as growing up as a child. Bosnich was just so different.
I think it would have been a lot more of a shock to Spink than to Bosnich, having worn green goalkeeper kits for the past sort of 10, 15 years. Now, I would have loved to have seen his face when some fella brings this in and go, right, this is what you're wearing this season.
Yeah, definitely a change for him to go from those quite sort of Umbro one that just had sort of like the bit of front and to go to the one that's absolute, just looks like glitter being thrown at a shirt. It's great. I mean, I think you like it as much. So you talk about the other teams had it. Yeah. Do other fans of teams, because you sell, obviously I know Villa shirts are sort of my bread and butter. Do other people's teams, so like the Newcastle and Leeds, is it as popular there as it is with Villa? Because obviously Villa have the winning the cup in it. They have Bosnich, which is a hero in it.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think definitely with Newcastle United, it's not as loved. They've got other shirts that they love more, which is the 95, the Adidas ones, and the start of Keegan and coming second and stuff like that. But they did very well in this shirt and came second in the Premier League. Got promoted and came second in the Premier League. Leeds as well. I think theirs is the few seasons before with the top man and winning the league and stuff like that. So, I think it is loved across everyone, but I think it's the most special, obviously, for us, is because we won in it. I would say it's the most 90s shirt that we've got in our whole collection.
And I definitely no regret.
I
I
cut
do
away
regret.
on. Yeah, it looks like Live and Kicking, like the backdrop to Live and Kicking or something like that, or it's just like completely 90s. But yeah, I love it. So, but that wasn't the only goalkeeper kit that we had. You know, we've got the blue and purple one, with the Asics one as well. Hopefully, you guys will be able to see some of the photos of that one now as we speak. Before we leave, John, I want to touch on the training gear, and one of my particular favourites, which is the 1994 Cup Final windbreaker, which is amazing. What's your thoughts on that?
It's probably one of because shirts where I've tried to stay my collections out. I try not to go off the path too much because I mean it's not cheap as it is, but that's one of the things I think I would sort of be something I'd be prepared to spend a bit of money on because they just look lovely, don't they? That the kit, and again, we haven't won really many things in my lifetime, 2 cups. So to have one that was sort of, especially as now you can get ones that have the Wembley stuff across the top. It's just a lovely thing to have, isn't it? And I don't actually know how good they are at sort of being warm.
Breaking the wind.
I've never owned one. Wind breaking.
They are quite big, so if you're a medium, definitely try and find a small in it because anything, even the jackets and the tracky tops in 90s sizes, they're well bigger than the actual shirts. So I always recommend going down a size with that sort of stuff. I just love that big, massive like American stop sign on the shoulder on the side, which is amazing, and the fact it's got Muller on the corner as well as the actual shirt, which is really really cool. And then we've got the tracksuits as well, which are class. This is the full trackie with bottoms. But yeah, these cool designs as well. A bit different than the actual shirt in terms of the colour scheme. But yeah, I remember seeing a lot of pictures of the players and stuff wearing this when they're on the way to European nights and that sort of stuff. So yeah, just overall great gear. Asics and Muller, one of the best. One of the absolute best.
And the thickness of the pinstripes on next on the windbreakers, it's like a replica of the shirt, but that one's sort of much thicker stripes across the that you've got there.
And there's t-shirts and loads of stuff that they've done. I'm sure we'll be able to find some pictures. You'll have to see some bits now. But yeah, they just did a wide collection. And again, there's player versions where they've got, that's the commercial version there. But the players, again, had different broiding on the actual badges. So everything was special for them and wasn't commercially available like the elite version of Kappa nowadays.
Yeah.
So this has been the first ever episode of 1 to 11 kits, and thank you everyone for watching. Please again like and subscribe and click that little bell so you're alerted to whenever we release a new video. From me, up the Villa,
and yeah, also from me, up the Villa. Hopefully see you next time.
Bye bye.